What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Will Deal. You can follow me on Twitter at RealDeal5. And I should be joined by my co host, Doc Antonio Martinez, shortly. And once again, for those of you who are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. And make sure you leave a comment as well if you'd like. We really appreciate it, as we're pretty new to creating content here about our favorite teams, but we really enjoy doing it and hope that you enjoy what we've got as well for you. So hopefully, like I said, my co-host will join me soon, but I am really excited, as you can see by what I'm wearing here, about this game on Sunday. So we're going to be getting into the NFC Championship game on Sunday between the San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams. And so we're gonna just get into a few topics. Obviously, people have been talking a lot about different quarterbacks in this matchup and how those guys stack up with the rest of the field. Obviously, in the AFC, which is super talented, as we all know, with the rookie Joe Burrow going up against Patrick Mahomes. But on the NFC side, we've got two old rivals, right? We've got Matt Stafford and we've got our guy Jimmy G. And it looks like Doc has just joined, so I'm going to let him in right now. Hey, what's going on, Doc?
Hey, what's up, bro? Deal, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to be back on, man. It's good. I was just kind of doing a little quick intro, and so kind of reintroducing everybody to the triple single crew.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know it's been a minute since we've had the chance to do it, even with just two of us. So it's exciting to have both of us on here tonight.
Yeah, man. Really excited. I mean, I've been looking forward to talking about this offline, because so we're coworkers, for those of you who are just new to the channel, and it's just we talk a lot about this stuff, but we don't really get to go in depth because we got to get to work. So,
Yeah.
so right now, we're kind of been let free.
hmm Yeah, a lot of times, we get into work and one of the first things we do is just check in, see how each other is doing, and then we dive into whatever is happening with our favorite sport teams, whether that be the 49ers, the Warriors, or the Giants. But right now, definitely is a big time 49ers season, just with where we're at. And like Rodale said, exciting to have a chance for both of us to just share our thoughts on, what's to come this Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got some topics, obviously, that I'm going to kind of put on the screen. But if you want, you can just dive right in terms of what you want to talk about. I really liked your video and some of the things you alluded to, just going back to what happened in Green Bay.
Mhm.
And so, if you want to, do you want to do a quick recap of that, just while we're both on right now?
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I appreciate, you highlighting that. Definitely just gave my breakdown on my thoughts, feelings, perspective as that Green Bay, just game went on. And we didn't lead, until the very last 4 seconds when Robbie Gold hit that field goal, and just, all the emotional roller coaster that I think all of us kind of went through, and seeing the offense struggle a bit. But at the same time, seeing the defense hold strong, going into that game, I actually did not know Green Bay had a worse special teams than us. That's mind blowing considering how bad ours has been all season. And so just to actually see us have an advantage there. And it seemed like there was actually discussion during the week that we had an advantage inside the team. And so it's really cool to see it play out, right? Because with special teams, what are the odds that you're going to see your team block a punt and a field goal in the same game, right? You might
Yep.
go 16 weeks without a block punt. And so for us to do that in one of the most critical moments of our season, and then for Huff to go get that ball and run it in, it's just exciting times, man. I
Yeah,
can go
man.
on and on, but I'm also just really excited to dive into what's coming up, right?
Yep.
Game three of the season against the Rams.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll just finish off on dovetail off you said, and man, it was crazy when we haven't played special teams like that in a long time. That's first and foremost. I can't remember the last time we blocked a punt and a field goal, let alone do it in the same game.
Yeah,
And then when that ball went up, I was like Hufanga. I'm like, where is it?
yeah, hmm
And then all of a sudden, that thing dropped down, and I'm like, it's there,
yeah,
as if he
yeah,
could hear us.
yeah,
And man, he said later on, I think in the post game, that he heard it, and I'm like,
yeah.
man,
He heard it. I know.
how do you
Mhm.
hear that? But like with all this going on, but yeah, he heard it, and then he just ran towards where he heard it, and so And thankfully he did. And Patrick Willis, was the one to get that big left hand on there. And
You mean
we joked that
Jordan Willis? Jordan Willis?
Oh man, see, I
I
already
know.
did it. See,
You
because
know,
I had my
Patrick.
Patrick Willis on.
Yeah.
I know that would have been cool
No,
if Patrick
that
Willis
would have
came
been
out of
cool. Came out of retirement to block a punt.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jordan. Yeah, Jordan Willis, 94. He just came out of nowhere, it seemed like, and he just bull rushed that center, who like just pushed him out of the way in the snow, no chance. And so, that was cool to see. But yeah, I had my Patrick Willis on, so I was texting Doc like, "Hey, it's a different Willis, but it still worked out."
Made a huge impact, most definitely.
Yeah.
And what's interesting on block punts, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but I mean, there's still the likelihood that the team that punts the ball could have found it first, and while everybody's looking, grab it and go run a first down, and the game's probably over, right? So there's those scenarios that are very rare. But again, when you block a punt, it's fair game. Anything can happen in that moment. You know what I mean? So the fact that it landed where it did, and for us to get the ball and run it in was big, because even Kyle said in one of his, I think, post conferences that he's glad he didn't have to call in plays like after that, and try to score a touchdown. He's glad that got us back to a tie game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things too, where it was that time in the game. I think it was around 4 minutes and 45 seconds. I promise we'll wrap up on this and get going on the NFC Championship, because that's what everyone really wanted to tune in on. But it was one of those times where you're like, man, we got to come up with something. And he did, and once we came up with something, once special teams did that and Jordan had that block, then it was like 10-10, game on. From then on, I was like, okay. I mean, like, that was what we needed. It was why we played that defense and hung around.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let's get into this duel, because, and when I say duel, I'm going to put this here on the screen, the quarterback duel. And really, I was hoping for a ticker instead of that, but you know what? We'll just put that on there for now.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. So, I've been hearing all day, about the quarterbacks, really the last few days. It's Jimmy G. Is Jimmy G good enough and whatnot? And I haven't heard enough on Matthew Stafford. And I know he made that incredible throw at the end to Cup. But give me your thoughts on, is this going to be something where we're looking at, is it Jimmy G against Stafford, or do you think it's much more about Stafford for them, but the team for us?
I think it's more of that. Although, right, it's important to acknowledge that Jimmy G's gonna have to make, a big throw at some point in the game, right? Maybe a few big throws. But I definitely do think it's more so Stafford against the team, right? Against our defense, which you mentioned is playing at an all-time high, probably the best defense still left in the playoffs. And after just processing you mentioning that and just really looking back at how they've been performing over the last few weeks, I agree. We do have the best defense, and a lot of it has had to do with guys are getting healthy, right? Greenlaw's healthy. And I think you take certain players for granted, especially when they're still younger players, until they're back a few weeks, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a difference maker right there, right? And Greenlaw brings just in that toughness and just that willingness to hit, and he's fast. He's not he doesn't have the same coverage skills as Warner, but I think the way he helped stop the run has really transformed our defense big time. So I think it's more of that. Will Stafford crumble under the pressure of our defense? I believe we have 10 sacks, I think 5 and 5 over the last 2 games. So if we can replicate that, right, which, there's no guarantee, but if we can even get 4 and maybe get an interception, I think that's going to rattle Stafford. And especially if we can do that early on and not wait until we're having to try to come back.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see also, I would like to really see that the secondary kind of comes up with something too, because I know that sorry about that, if you can hear that. I know that obviously Cup is going to get his. He's going to get his yards. We know that. He's gotten, I think, 125 and then about 120 the last 2 times we've faced him. So, Devontae Adams had 90, but he didn't get into the end zone. So I think a lot of those were kind of empty yards and those empty calories, kind of like at the end of games, right? Because so I didn't think they were impactful yards, right? That they hurt you for 50, 60 yards down the field, just like we had that double coverage at the very end, and the one everyone keeps talking about, Lazard was wide open, but so I want to see that. But as far as going back to the quarterbacks goes, because you're right. This is going to be about the defense, the 49ers defense against that offensive line, and then vice versa, right? Everyone
Yep.
keeps talking about their D line playing so much better,
Mm-hmm.
Von Miller playing so much
Yep.
better,
Von Miller's playing better. Yep. Mm-hmm.
but I'm with you that even if Jimmy only throws the ball 20 times or 20 to 25 times, I think he's going to have to make a few throws like he did in week 18. Like
Yeah.
that 25 30 yarder that he got to Debo when
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Ramsey had the outstretched hand, right? That was a throw right there where you go and win the game, and he's
Yep.
going to have to make 2 or 3 of those, because I think Mitchell hasn't been going off and gashing people the way he was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying the running game won't, because I think Debo is still so much of a factor to the running game
Mm-hmm.
that it will matter. But I do think that this is going to be a little bit more than I think the media thinks, in terms of Jimmy having to make a few throws,
Yeah.
big throws.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we also just have to acknowledge that, right? The weather conditions, the same way they impacted Jimmy,
Yeah.
they impacted Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, right? We're going to be playing in SoFi. It's probably going to be a sunny, beautiful day, very little wind. This is all assumptions, right? But based off of
Yeah.
what the weather's been like recently, that's what I'm thinking it's going to be like. And so it really is going to come down to execution, right? Who's going to execute, and can Jimmy do that consistently without having one of those Jimmy oh no type of throws that make us have to try to dig ourselves out of a hole again, right? So I think if we can avoid that, and if we can run the ball, like you mentioned with Mitchell, a combination of Debo, still not quite sure why Jeff Wilson just all of a sudden disappeared from the rotation, because I do think he adds a
Yeah.
valuable punishment in the way that he runs. He runs hard,
He
right?
did go out this last game. I think he went out. He was playing special teams, and I think
He did. Yeah,
right.
yeah. I think
So
he
yeah.
played some special teams, but getting him some touches too. Give Elijah Mitchell a break. He's still a rookie. I don't think he's ever played
Yeah.
this many weeks. Although I know he was injured for parts of the season, but it takes a toll. And
Right.
hopefully, I think it's kind of the way the Giants played, right? There was always that pinch hitter. There was always somebody you would bring in a crucial moment. It was trusting the whole team, and I think if we can do that, we'll be in good shape. But Jimmy's gonna have to play well, though. He is.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He really is. And I do think too that the turnover thing is huge. And obviously Jimmy is right at the center of that.
Yeah.
Because last time he threw 2 picks, one early, one late.
Mm-hmm.
The first one bothered me a lot more than the second one, right? Even though he was trying to force feed it to
Yeah.
Kittle, but that one kind of bounced up, and then Ramsey got it at the goal line,
That was
basically.
a great
So
catch by Ramsey.
it was.
Yeah.
It was a great play. The first one was more of like the one, like the Colts game, where he just kind of
Yeah.
throws it up and there's like 3 guys in the
Yeah.
middle of the field. It's like,
Like, what are you saying?
What?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, that can't happen again, because I don't think you can go down 17-0 and that's the formula.
Yeah.
We know
No.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, it happens once in a
Mhm.
while, but in general, like that can't be the formula to winning.
Yeah.
So,
Not when the
yeah,
stakes are this high, right? Now when they're this
exactly.
high and you're trying to go to a Super Bowl, because everybody's just gonna bring out the best version of themselves, right? I think someone else that needs to have a really big game is actually George Kittle. It's not that
Yeah.
you avoid throwing to Ramsey's side, but to be honest, I'm not afraid of the other defensive backs the Rams have. So why not attack them, right? Attack wherever Ramsey's not. Get him out of the game. Don't let him make an impactful play. So as you give George Kittle routes, make sure it's away from Ramsey, right? Look for Ayuk, look for Juwan Jennings, who's been amazing over the last few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Look for these different guys who will probably be a bit better than the guys covering them. And that's no disrespect to who the Rams have, but there's just no one else on that defense besides an Aaron Darnold. The D-line, Von Miller, is really good. I'm thinking they have someone named Floyd. I believe it's Floyd.
Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, Leonard Floyd is really good. And then Ramsey, right? But aside from that, nobody else scares me. So go after them.
Yeah, no, great point. And also it's funny that you mentioned that, and that actually brings me to my next topic that I've got here, the unknown hero. Because it's funny. I wonder if the Rams are going to pay just a little more attention to Jennings, because Jawan just gashed them last time. I mean, forget the overtime when he took that little, whatever that was, 10-yard out, and he just kept going and going for another 30 yards, it seemed like, to set up the field goal for Robbie at the end.
Yep.
He got down to like the 15 or whatever it was, and we were around the 50. So, like, that was a huge play in the game. But before that, I mean, they left them completely busted coverage wide you know what, open
Mhm.
for the game tying touchdown.
Yep.
So I just wonder about that because you're right. I mean, they've got to think about Kittle, obviously, and
Mhm.
obviously Debo, whether Debo's in the backfield or he's,
Yep.
out at receiver. But you still got to deal with Ayuk.
Yeah.
And then you still and now Jawan has already shown you, like, if you leave me completely alone, I'll go 100 on you
Yep.
for a touchdown.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
he's capable.
Yeah.
So I
And I
do
think,
wonder
right,
about that.
in being capable, it also requires Jimmy to trust these guys, right? It definitely
Right.
requires Jimmy to trust these guys. And so I'm looking forward just to the matchup. I definitely think the Rams have more offensive weapons than the Packers did. So
Yeah.
I think this will be a real good test for our team, especially since if we do make it, right, knock on wood and praying for the best, if we do make it to the last game, we're going to be facing a really good offense. It'll
Yeah.
either be the Chiefs or the Bengals. So I think this is a really good test where the Rams have, for the most part, everybody pretty healthy. Akers is back, Cooper Kupp. They got Higbee. They got Odell, who has started to fit in really well with that team. So we're going to face a really good team. And if we can beat them, then I think that really prepares us really well with whoever comes next.
Yeah. No, very true. I mean, all great points. And I'm glad you brought up Higby too, because he's one of those guys where he just finds that soft spot in
Oh
your
my, yep.
defense. He's
Mhm.
very good. He's underrated tight end, actually.
Yeah,
Kind of like
agreed.
Ertz to me. Just a
Mhm.
guy who's just really smart, good route runner, and more athletic than Ertz, actually, probably a little faster.
Yeah.
Um, so they've got targets all over the place. But so for me, though, I just wanted to talk about, just because of this topic, I was just wondering, if not someone like Jawan Jennings or Jordan Willis this time blocking a punt, who do you
Mhm.
think could be the unknown guy that we're not thinking of, that the media isn't talking about,
Mhm.
that could come up big in this game?
I could see, and it's not that he's an unknown guy, but his specialty isn't really getting interceptions. But I could see Jimmy Ward coming up with a really big
Ooh,
interception. Jimmy Ward, what he's really great at is being a sure tackler, being in the right spot at the right place. But it's been captured that he doesn't get a lot of interceptions. But I could see him
yeah,
getting one in this game, and it being one of those that changes the momentum of the game. Either we might be up, and getting that interception gives us a chance to continue to just put our foot on the pedal, or it might be one of those where, okay, we're back in the game. Jimmy Ward got us that interception. Let's go and score. So I can see Jimmy Ward coming up big. And again, it's not that he's an unknown player, but the play that he would make isn't something that he does often.
well, no, and to your point, I mean, he had two in the first matchup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, the big Monday nighter,
Mm-hmm.
as we all remember, the 31-10. And I think, that's the recipe too, is to try to see if you can force Stafford to get that desperate early
Yeah.
for that deep shot. I don't know if he will do that. I think he's going to be a lot closer to whatever happened in week 18, where
18.
he's going to just try to kind of shred when he finds guys open. But we can't be so what perpetuated that 17-0 was the turnovers, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can't be the reason that happens. But for me, I think I don't, it's funny. I was just thinking, I was asking the question, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, who could come up big in this type of game? And I think someone like uh, this is another defensive game, I think, for the defensive line. I think I
Mhm.
could see someone like either Armstead or DJ
Yep. I was thinking
um,
those two.
forcing a fumble,
Yeah.
doing something of that nature. Because the thing that really turned the game around for us last week, after our turnover, was getting the ball back when
Yep.
Fred just punched it out.
Yeah.
And
Punched it out.
that made it 1-1, in terms of the turnover
Mm-hmm.
margin. And
Mm-hmm.
if we can do that, if we're even on turnovers or +1, I mean, you're
Oh,
putting yourself in great position to
I
to, to
like our
win this.
chances.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like this season it's really been about who wins the turnover battle. Almost every game where we've lost the turnover battle by one or two, we lose. Like,
yeah,
it's tough to overcome that, especially with us trying to find a rhythm throughout the season. But now, if we can win that turnover battle, just puts us in a really good place. So I hope that's being preached, and I'm sure it always is. But at a higher level, like we got to take care of the ball, and we got to find a way to take the ball.
yeah. No doubt. And I actually, I don't know why, for whatever reason, I have a feeling that Jimmy, hasn't thrown a touchdown pass yet. So he's not the unknown
He's
hero.
due. He's due. Yeah.
But it's an unknown hero situation,
Yeah.
right? Because he hasn't. You're right, he's due.
Bro,
And so,
imagine if he has a game like he did against the Saints. I mean, he hasn't had a game like that, in my opinion, this whole
yeah.
season, right? And that was the
Well,
game that really put him on the map. in
Yeah.
2019. It was like, oh shoot, okay, we
Yeah.
got somebody.
Yeah,
We
and
need to have a
last
game
week
like
and
that.
last week even, I mean, George said it after the game. He's like, "Hey, I dropped that ball. It probably
Yeah,
would have gone for 6." And
that's
so,
true.
and then Jawan dropped one too. But again, that's in the elements.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you don't drop those, and if they leave them open like that, which
Hmm.
I just heard that narrative that maybe the one weakness again, like you to your point, is right in that linebacking core,
Yes, that
right? And
middle.
that's why you got to keep attacking
Mhm.
Kittle down the middle, right?
Got
So
to, got to. The middle is Jimmy's strength too, and if that just
yeah,
so happens to be the Rams, deficiency, then attack it. Like, don't
yeah,
don't let them off the hook. And I hope Jimmy's shoulder and thumb is okay because again, I know it could have been the conditions, but some of those throws he was making to the outside, it looks like he was lobbing the ball. I was like, bro,
yeah.
I'm waiting for that to get picked because
Though,
it's like
yeah,
there's no strength in that throw.
yeah, those are just decisions, right? Those are
Yeah,
it's not even like even if your arm was 100%, you don't make those,
yeah.
right? Those are the ones that are literally like the ball's in the air too long.
Yeah, yeah, it's like
And
floating. I'm like, "What's going
like
on?"
Favre would get picked off a lot on those, right? Like
Mhm,
guys that had much better arms than Jimmy. So you definitely don't want to be playing with fire. He did it like
yeah,
2 or 3 times. We were watching the game last week. I'm like, "Oh my god, don't do that." Like
don't do that. Yeah,
don't do that in the snow, right? Where
mhm,
the ball's not going to travel, right?
yeah,
So
mhm,
and so yeah, he did get asked that today. I caught so during my lunch break, I actually caught they had the media availability, and I don't know
mhm.
who it was, might have been Grant Cohn or somebody who asked him, you don't tend to throw the ball away very often. Why is that? And can when is the right time? And he gave kind of like a 50-50 answer depending on the situation. And
Yeah,
it does make sense, but you also there are times when people should throw the ball away, but they make a big play, right? And I
yeah.
was like, yeah, I know, Jimmy, but
But it hasn't
that's
been
not you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, Jimmy, there's times other guys do that, but we're
Yeah.
focusing on you.
Like
This
if
is
Mahomes is scrambling.
Oh, Josh Allen is scrambling. Yeah, of course. They have
Yeah.
rocket arms and are mobile, but you, Jimmy,
Right.
with where you're at, you just need to understand what your strengths are and
Right.
what are not your strengths.
And
And that's
understand
okay.
that the defense is going to protect you,
Yep.
right? Okay, you throw it away, we punt.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the world
Or we'll
because
kick a field goal like, hey, let's get
that's right.
points instead of throwing that
Exactly.
pick. I think I remember telling you, and if not, it must have been another one of my friends who's a big fan. I was like, when we got in the red zone right before half when he threw the interception, I said I'm okay with the field goal because the way our defense
Right.
is playing, I'm actually okay with the field goal, and I'd rather that than some horrible turnover. And it's like I spoke it into existence because then there was the interception.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think at this point, because of everything that's happened, at all when I watch the games, I don't think about that. I don't think about
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
I'm just watching. I'm not
yeah,
expecting he's gonna do it or he won't do it because he probably will do something that's gonna make you go crazy.
yeah,
And I'm just like, okay, let's pick ourselves up
yeah,
and go deal with it because
hmm,
we've gotten this far, right? And
yeah.
so, I don't think you can keep living like that. And I apologize if you hear anything back here. Uh, So I live right next to a fire station, by the way. So if you hear sirens all the time, it's because I'm like 2 blocks away from the firehouse. Um, but with that, let me transition then to our final topic that I had here, which was keys to victory. So what are your main and we talked about a
Yep.
bunch of
Hmm.
different things, but
Hmm.
specifically, what do you want to see on Sunday for us to come away with the dub?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy needs to throw some touchdowns. I think it's going to come down to that. I think the Rams are going to try to stack the box and force Jimmy to make throws. They're very well aware of his shoulder injury, his thumb injury. They might look at the last 2 playoff games and see that, Jimmy's not 100%. And they might say, you know what, we're going to live with you beating us. And I think Jimmy's going to have to. So I think the keys to the victory, I'm going to go out there and say Jimmy probably needs to throw 3 touchdowns. I know that's
Whoa.
asking for a lot. Yeah, I know, right? Especially since he hasn't had one. But I think 3 touchdowns gets us that victory against the Rams. I hope it doesn't. We don't need that, and we just dominate them so much that even one is fine. But I think that's what I'm like looking for. Jimmy to throw some touchdowns, and if not even just to win, to go in with big momentum into that hopefully next game, which we'll crown the champion, and hopefully that's us.
Yeah. Man, three touchdowns. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think back because I don't think he's had a 3 touchdown game since
I don't know
like
when.
the
Maybe
middle of the
that changed.
season.
Yeah.
You know what? It might have been one of the games where I know he threw at least 2 was the Bengals game because
Mhm.
we went into overtime. He threw
Overtime.
into Ayuk.
Yeah.
So I'll say I kind of like where you're going with this. I'll say that I think he may need to throw 2.
Hmm.
I don't know if he'll get to 3, but I think he may need to get to 2 this time. He's not gonna get away with not even throwing 1.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that'd be
think they're gonna
tough.
need to throw 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's one thing. I definitely wanna see again pressure on Stafford, just relentless pressure. I mean, I it's going to have to be kinda like week 18 where, especially in the second half, they don't have an answer for Key,
Hmm.
Ebukam, Bosa tiring them out in the 3rd and
Yep.
4th quarters. They won't have an answer for Armstead,
Yeah.
DJ. It's gonna have to be like that
Yeah.
again,
Hmm.
and again, like the turnover. And not that you can't turn it over, but you need to be even. So if they get
Yeah, at
if we
least
turn it over
even.
twice, we gotta get 2, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah, I
um,
was gonna go
yeah,
with the D line and turnovers, but because I had already shared a little bit about that,
yeah,
I decided to go a different route.
yeah.
I'm actually gonna take a step back to the topic we had. You know who would be a really cool unknown hero? Trey Lance. Imagine if they finally bring
Yeah.
back the Trey Lance package. That'd be fun, man. That would be fun. I
You
just
know, I
forgot.
thought about that. I
Yeah.
thought about that on Monday. I'm like, because someone was like, "What if there's a package?" I'm like, "Are we still talking Trey Lance
I know,
package?"
I know. Yeah, that's why I know it's wild to even think about, but that would catch the Rams off guard.
That would catch the Rams off guard. You know how I thought about it was because of the Debo play,
Hmm.
the pass to
The
Jennings,
way
and I
he
was
threw
like,
it to, yeah.
what if you put Debo and Lance on the field and I mean, I'm mad scientist right
Yep,
now, but you
yep.
split them. So usually it's juice, but you could put Lance back there. They don't know if you're gonna hand it off to Lance to run, and probably you're gonna pass. So I would think they'd be kind of ready for that trick play, but it would still be cool to see because I
Yeah.
mean Debo's done it. So
Hmm.
what if you fake to Lance and the guy's even more wide open or multiple targets for Debo to throw to? So,
Or what if Lance is open and you
or
go
what
to
if
him? I
That's
mean,
right? What if
he's
Lance
an
runs down?
athlete. He's an athlete. Let him go. If Tom Brady has caught a touchdown, I'm sure Trey Lance can catch one.
Oh man, yeah, that
You
would
know,
be something. That
I
would be
just think
something.
that games like this, especially when you've seen an opponent over and over, you got to pull something out of a hat.
Yeah,
Something a little different, something to throw them off. Of course, it doesn't have to be a group of plays, but just one. That can be
yeah,
a momentum changer that just fires up your team, and it's like, oh yeah, we got them. They don't know what we're doing. So
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah,
And then
man.
the last key, going back to the keys to victory, is just the guys being healthy. We don't know how Debo's gonna feel after that game
Yeah,
on Saturday. Trent Williams, was limping and struggling to move around. Had an X-ray, thankfully it was negative. Didn't practice. I don't think he's practiced yet, but with him, you just need him to be ready for game day.
right.
But us being healthy, I think is gonna be a big key to victory.
Yeah, the health has been actually pretty good. I mean, other than
Mhm.
Jimmy's thumb and the
Yep.
shoulder and now Trent's ankle, but I've been pretty thankful, with George being healthy,
Mhm.
Debo being pretty healthy.
Ayuk's been
Um,
healthy. Mhm.
Ayuk's been healthy, and obviously, thankfully, Mitchell stayed pretty healthy because
Yeah.
he needed, and that's why I think late in the season it was smart to kinda, I feel like they did try to manage him a little bit at times,
Mhm.
and, like earlier, they did lean on him a lot late, but right before they did that, they were like, "Oh, is he not ready yet? That's
Yeah.
fine. We'll put Jeff in."
Yep.
And I think Jeff was actually the one who ran the ball the most that first game. I don't even think
Against the
Elijah
Rams? Yeah, I
started
don't think
the first
Elijah
one.
played. Mhm.
Yeah, so because I
Mhm.
remember seeing a lot of 22 out there. So,
Yep.
that's another thing that's nice is knowing that we can lean on some of these other guys a little bit. And but yeah, who knows? It's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see it. I'm actually one last quick key. Special teams may come into play
Yeah.
again
Mhm.
because their kicker, Matt Gay,
Oh,
came up
he's
short.
hurt, right? I think
No,
he's
no, he
hurt.
came up short on a
Mhm.
47-yard field goal last week, but I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Was he
think I think
breaking
I had
news?
heard something that he might have some type of injury, like he tweaked
Okay.
something, so he's not 100%. I mean, he made the kick that mattered most at the end of the game. Well, towards the end of the game, but
Yeah.
yeah, I heard he's definitely feeling some pain.
But even that one, the ball was spinning a lot, but it would never get to the net, and
Mhm.
I pay attention to that stuff just
Yep.
because my, former days when I used to kick and whatnot and when I was playing, yeah, he's not kicking the ball that well, and again, he didn't have to deal with the elements like Robbie did,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know I that stuff could come into play, and so I'm still feeling confident. I know the media is looking more at the Rams and the firepower, and they're playing better and all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff, but I think there's a lot to be said for winning your individual matchups, and the
Yep.
49ers are more comfortable winning those against the Rams versus compared to
Yes.
any other
Yeah,
team in the league.
anybody else. Mhm.
So, All
Yeah,
right, Doc.
it'll be an exciting game. Definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, just whatever happens, happens. I think I'm just proud of the team. I think at one point we were 3-5, and who would have ever imagined that we'd be at this point? So I've kind of just come to terms with I'm happy with whatever happens. Of course, I'll be upset and emotional if we lose, but my hope is that we're celebrating and we have 2 weeks to kind of just think about that next matchup.
I know that's going to be a lot of content to come if that happens. So, with that, thank you all so much for joining us. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe at TSC Bay Area. You can also follow me on Twitter at Real Deal 5. Follow Doc, and make sure you keep following our content. And we got Instagram and Twitter. That's at TSC Bay Area for those. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
See you, everybody.